ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि। कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम् आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्। दक्षिणे लक्ष्मणो यस्य वामे च जनकात्मजाः पुरतो मारुतिर्यस्य तं वन्दे रघुनन्दनम्।
Hi.
We've heard this verse many times. Veda Vedye Pare Pumsi Jate Dasharathatmaje Vedah Prachetasadasit Sakshat Ramayanatmanah. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paraha Pumsa, when he is born or he appears in the family of Dasharatha, Jate Dasharathatmaje, as the son of Dasharatha, the Supreme Lord is always surrounded by the Vedas, the Vedangas, the Upanishads, and the Puranas, and every bit of Vedic knowledge feel the urge to also come and associate with him. And so they all combine themselves and manifest as the Ramayana, directly from Valmiki. Vedaha prachetasat asit sakshat Ramayana atmanaha, in the form of Ramayana. So every truth that a living being needs is there in the Ramayana. We just need the right lens to look at it through so that we can extract what is meaningful, let's say for us as Vaishnavas, or for anybody as a human being. I want to acknowledge and express my gratitude to all of you that some of you have stayed on for almost or more than 4 years as we've been discussing the Ramayana. So I cannot express how grateful I am that you have the tenacity, the patience, the eagerness, the enthusiasm to hear Sri Ramachandra's Katha. The Sundara Kanda, which has been going on for almost 2 years, in December will complete 2 years. We are in chapter 61, and Sundara Kanda has 69 chapters. So we are almost at the tail end of Sundara Kanda. After this, of course, is Yuddha Kanda. So much going on in Yuddha Kanda. I'm baffled as to how to narrate Yuddha Kanda. But in the beginning of Yuddha Kanda, there's important Sharanagati topics which we will thoroughly churn, take it slowly, and let it become part of our being. But we're near the end of Sundara Kanda. So thanks to all of you for being there, for inspiring me. It is you, you are the reason why I am inspired to do this. If it's always said that the audience is the one that inspires the speaker. So thank you. I'm extremely grateful to you. In the Bhagavad Gita's chapter 9, Krishna describes to Arjuna that the knowledge or the those aspects of bhakti, when one understands them, one is able to see the Supreme Lord or experience directly through one's perception the joy of this knowledge of bhakti, this knowledge of Sharanagati living in front of our eyes. We can see, and a person becomes joyful, they become happy. Raja Vidya, Rajaguhyam, Pavitram Idamuttamam. And he says, Susukham Kartum Avyayam, Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam. Pratyakshaavagamam. One is able to directly perceive. Dharmyam is living by such a life, one is able to perceive how this knowledge actually is true. One is able to visualize, not just, oh, I heard something, but I don't know if it is true. So that's one principle to remember as we go through our session today. Another is perception of the Supreme is directly from hearing. And there is no other way. When one hears from the spiritual masters, and one conducts oneself according to those teachings, even if one does not see the Supreme Lord, one feels the same joy as the one who has seen the Lord. This is very important for us because one might say, how long do I have to wait before I can see the Supreme? Actually, the entire Vedic system is not necessarily built on to be able to see. Of course, if that happens, that's the greatest joy. But we know so many devotees throughout history who may not have seen the Lord, but their life is full of joy because they're experiencing the presence of Lord Sri Ramachandra, Sri Krishna, whichever form of the Lord that they are attached to, that Lord's presence in their heart and in their life. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaha Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram. It says Shama Sundaram. So Ramachandra is also Shama Sundara. Krishna is also Shama Sundara. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also, we know, although in golden form, Shama Sundara. So, Premanjana Churita, one's eyes must be covered with the salve of love. Then they can experience joy as if they are seeing the Lord. I'm drawing certain philosophical pieces within which we're going to look at today's context. So there is the joy of perception of the Supreme coming from hearing, and hearing is more important than seeing the Supreme Lord. Hearing about the Supreme Lord and his associates is more important. And we will see indicators how Valmiki has embedded the entire Vedic teachings in a storyline that with the right lens is the speech of the great acharyas. For us, it is Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this line. Then there is Govinda Rajaswami and a whole bunch of Vaishnavas. For thousands of years, have been giving us very nice, fine threads. And so we are the ones who are relishing it. A farmer plants a tree, a fruit tree that gives so many fruits. And those who have no idea of farming can also enjoy those fruits. That is the benefit. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Ishwarapuri in Gaya, and Ishwarapuri Prabhupada gave him the holy name to chant. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he didn't know what was happening to him. All sorts of symptoms were manifesting in him. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 7, verse 78, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is narrating. While chanting the holy name of the Lord in pure ecstasy, I lost myself. And thus I laugh, I cry, I lose myself. Thus I laugh, I cry, dance, and sing just like a madman. And these are all symptoms of that ecstasy of being in contact with the Supreme Lord. Here in this case is by the means of and by the Nama Prabhu's mercy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Hailama Unmata, I became mad. Hasi, laughing, Kandi, crying, Nachi, dancing, Gai, singing. Yeiche Madan Mata, I was completely lost myself. So this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is narrating to Prakashananda Saraswati, but the import is important. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continues, Hasaya, Nachaya, More Karaya Krandana, Eta Shuni Guru Hasi, Balila Vachana. When my spiritual master heard this is what he said. And what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tell him? Chanting in the holy name in ecstasy causes me to dance, laugh, and cry. When my spiritual master heard all this, he smiled and then began to speak. In the so a short purport. When a disciple very perfectly makes progress in spiritual life, this gladdens the spiritual master, who then also smiles in ecstasy, thinking how successful my disciple has become. He feels so glad that he smiles as he enjoys the progress of his disciple, just as a smiling parent enjoys the activities of a child who is trying to stand up or crawl perfectly. The Vanaras, after hearing Jambavan, that we should only follow the instruction of Lord Ramachandra and not rush into going and bringing Sita back, because that was not the instruction. In his heart, he had made a vow that he will bring Sita back. So we cannot change that. Everyone agreed. Leading person was Hanumanji. Chapter 61 begins with Tato Jambavanto Vakyam Agranhata Vanaukasaha Angada Pramukha Viraha Hanumanscha Mahakapihi. At that time, Tato Jambavanto Vakyam Agranata. They all grasped or held or completely agreed with the words Jambavan spoke. And instead of calling them Vanaraha, Valmiki calls them Vanaukasaha. Vanaukasaha. They are monkeys or those dwelling in the forest. That word gives an indication of what's coming up. However, Angada Pramukha Vira. Angada Pramukha. Angada is the leader. Veera, very, very powerful. Hanumanscha Mahakapi, and the great mighty Hanuman. They all agreed, and the leaders were Angada and Hanuman. And each of these Vanaras, because they are in a happy state, that they are going to narrate this to Lord Ramachandra, their forms are very, very big. And in their heart, they're carrying this love for Sita and Ramachandra. Just something to note, only Hanuman has seen Sita Devi. None of the other Vanaras has ever seen Sita Devi. But Valmiki says, Priti mantas tatha sarve vayu putras paraspara. Priti manta, they were full of love for Hanumanji, who saw Sita Devi. And because they are hearing from Hanumanji, they are pretty much in the same ecstasy as Hanumanji. And Paraspara, they are talking amongst themselves. They are looking at each other. And they are competing with each other in the size that they have manifested. Mahendra dapi parityaja pupluvu plavagarshobha. They quickly jumped away from Mahendra mountain, and each of them seemed like the best among all the Vanaras. Meru Mandara Meru Mandara Shankasha. Sorry, I'm too eager. Meru Mandara Sankasha. Each of them was shining as if they are Mount Meru or Mandara. Matta iva mahagaja. They were like maddened elephants. So elephants, when they are in a rut, which means they are uh, sexually excited, they start secreting a certain fluid from the temples of their heads. And that is fragrant, and that attracts the female elephant. And this elephant, when it is in rut, becomes so extra powerful that is almost maddened and cannot see or is not worried where it is walking, what it is trampling. So these monkeys, these vanaras were also like that. Matta iva mahagajaha. And as they are jumping into the sky, one after the other, they seemed like massive clouds that was completely covering the sky. So I want you to visualize it. Chayadanta iva akasham mahakaya mahabalaha. Chayadanta. They covered the entire sky with their massive forms. And they are all looking at Hanuman and pretty much drinking in the form of Hanuman with their eyes. And in all of their hearts, Sarve Rama Pratikare Nishchitartha Manasvinaha. In each of their minds, they had determined that they will act and do that which is pleasing for Sri Ramachandra. And as they are jumping, they came to this wonderful garden that belonged to Sugriva, and it looked like Indra's Nandanandana garden. It was filled with trees, creepers, flowers, birds, bees, butterflies, juicy fruits. Every tree had massive honeycombs dripping with honey. And the whole place was so fragrant, colorful, beautiful to look at, pleasing, relaxing. And this garden called Madhuvana was originally Sugriva's maternal uncle's. I'm sorry, it came in Sugriva's lineage and was being guarded by Sugriva's maternal uncle by the name Dadimukha. So Sugriva and Vali's mother, her brother was Dadimukha. And he was the caretaker of the garden because he was ordered, please take care. So he guarded it very, very careful. When all these Vanaras came there, they saw at this beautiful garden, monkeys, bears, bears love honey. They looked at Angada and said, Angada, what do you think? Do you give us the permission to enjoy this garden, to drink the honey that's here? Angada, although he's the prince, it is his garden because it is in his family. He being the prince, yet very humbly turned to Jambavan and asked for permission. And Jambavan gave permission. Yeah, Angada, if that's what you'd like to do, go ahead. Tatah Kumarastan Vruddhan Jambavan Pramukhan Kapihi. Anumanaya, that is sought permission. Dadau tesham visargam madhubhikshane. You want to enjoy the honey. Now that Jambavan agreed and Angada gave the permission, go ahead, the monkeys became so happy that they started dancing. Now one may think that they are dancing because of the fruit and honey, which in a direct sense, true. In an indirect sense, they are relishing the joy of the success of Hanumanji. That is what it is. So susukham kartum avyayam, just the everyday things of eating. Before this, they have eaten honey or drank honey. They've eaten fruits. They've talked to each other. But what is so special at this time? It is not the fruit, the honey, or the garden. It is the joy that they are of celebration of the success of Hanumanji seeing Sita Devi. Another way to see it, which is the really sweet way, is the joy that Hanuman has in his heart of actually having darshan of Sita Devi. And just because they have heard from him the entire episode, they are also in the same ecstasy. Remember, hearing is very powerful. So Valmiki is now drawing a picture for us what the monkeys were doing. So see if you recognize the words. Gayanti, Kechit. Some of them started singing. Pranamanti Kechit. Pranamanti, some fell on the ground and started offering obeisances. Nrityanti Kechit. Some started dancing. Prahasanti Kechit. Some started laughing loudly. Patanti Kechit. Someone just fell on the ground and were rolling on the floor. Charanti Kechit. Some just started running here and there. Pavanti Kechit. Pavanti started jumping up in the air. Pralapanti Kechit. Pralapanti, some were just hopping and some were just jumping from here to there. All the monkeys, each person expressed their joy in a different way. Think of it. I'm going to give a mundane example, but I started with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanting of the holy name and the kind of joy he experienced. So that's the spiritual joy. The perverted reflection is something we see in day-to-day life. Is when, let's say, someone's favorite sporting team wins. Let's say India won the World Cup. This is how everyone behaved, almost like monkeys. Gayanti Kechit. Some were singing songs. Pranamanti Kechit. Nrityanti Kechit. Prahasanti Kechit. They're discussing, oh, remember in that piece of the match, the bowling was good, the batting was good, or something, that fielding was fantastic. Ha ha ha, they're laughing. And in devotional side, the joy of experiencing some realization makes a person so happy. That's why devotees sing and dance with joy. Parasparam Kechit Upashrayante. Some comforted each other. Kechit parasparam upakramante. They started holding each other. Kechit parasparam upapruvante. They started sharing some secrets in a group of friends. While the entire group is enjoying, sometimes you have side conversations and you remember something else and you say, oh, yeah, then you remember that one? And then they have a little laughter between themselves. Kechit parasparam uparamante. Some few of them started entertaining each other. They said something to each other and started uh, feeling joy and entertaining each other. Some ran from one tree to another tree, back and forth, just mad. Some jumped from broken branches. Some were swinging from one branch to another, one from one treetop to another. While they were singing, they laughed, they slapped each other, they fell on each other, and some were rolling and laughing excessively. So some people will laugh, some people will laugh a little louder, and some will roll on the floor because the same joke, each person gets tickled in a different way. Some were shouting at each other. Now, shouting is not angry. You know how, while they're singing, they have certain slogans and they shout at each other, those slogans. So this army of monkeys had lost the entire control over themselves. And as they were drinking this intoxicating honey, nobody was sitting quietly. And there was nobody who was not intoxicated, including our Hanumanji. Don't think he's some sadhu, or our view of what a sadhu should look like. If you want to picture parallel, when Krishna and his friends came to Talavan, is right next to, actually it is also in Madhuvan area, in Talavan, next to Madhuvan. The boys wanted to eat the tal fruits, and Krishna and Balram gave permission. Yeah, let's go. And the joy the children had plucking the tal fruits, eating it, and it has a nectar in it that is really, I won't say intoxicating, but it has a certain joy that it gives, and they were enjoying it. And Dhenukasura did not like it. Or another is the great Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, under whom thousands and thousands of Mayavadi sannyasis were students. That Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was jumping in Narendra Sarovar, dipping himself, coming out and spitting fountains of water, splashing water on the other devotees, and being like a child. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu laughed at him. That is how it is expressed. So Hanumanji is also. So these monkeys, they was enjoying so much that they pretty much broke the trees, broke the branches, made the entire garden completely in disarray, uh, ate fruits, threw things away, drank and rolled on the ground, broke the trees. They made a complete mess of the whole thing. So Dadimukha became very angry. He said, "Stop, stop, get out of here." And as he was reprimanding them, uh, and he was trying to say, how do I protect this garden? It's not just one. Dadimukha is one. He has some soldiers, but who's on the other side? Hanuman, Jambavan, Angada, Mainda, Tvivida. I mean, they are all very powerful, powerful monkeys. So Dadimukha started chastising the monkeys. To some, he was speaking very loudly. To some, he was speaking harshly. He told others, shut up, don't talk. Some monkeys, he hit them on their bottoms with the palm of his hand. To some, he spoke very pleasingly, please don't do this. And with some, he had a quarrel, an argument. And with some people, he started speaking almost like, uh, let's be peaceful, please. Don't create this ruckus here. And on the monkey side, they were completely intoxicated and they started using abusive language towards Dadimukha, some of them. And some of them started to see if Dadimukha is interested in wrestling with them because they don't want to be stopped. And they didn't care whether they had made a mistake or not. They caught of Dadimukha and pulled him here and there and made a complete mess. So when someone's having a great time, you interrupt their joy, naturally they become angry. And some of the monkeys, in that anger that their joy was interrupted, started scratching Dadimukha with their nails. Some bit him with their teeth. Some slapped Dadimukha and some kicked him. And together they looted the entire garden. This Madhuvana that was carefully guarded by Dadimukha. So then, something to remember is when the Vanaras were in search of Sita Devi, They must have crossed this Madhuvana, but there's no reference to it. It just says that they searched through all the trees, the creepers, the gardens, and the forests, and the rivers, and caves, and all of that. We hear about Swayamprabha, but we don't hear about it. Only on their return, they're relishing their fruits. At that time, they are very much focused on the service on hand. Now, on the way back, they deserve a little. They haven't been eating. Remember, when they reached the shore of the ocean, up until that point, after Swayamprabha had given them something to eat, they hadn't eaten anything. And they were fasting. They were Their lives were in their throat because they didn't know if Hanuman would ever return. Hanuman has returned, and now is the first time that they're actually eating with some joy. And Hanuman, who's the leader of the monkey troops, told them, enjoy the honey without any fear or any worry. I will protect you. If anyone takes any objection, tell them Hanumanji is there. And hearing this, Angada said, you have my permission. Continue. Enjoy. Forget about Dadimukha. And Angada said, even if Hanuman says, no, don't eat the fruit right now we're all going to eat it, then what to speak of when he has given his permission? Why are you hesitating? This is all part of the intoxicated joy. We don't take it too seriously as is he violating an instruction. They're just in a very joyful. When that joy has reached that state, then there is no hierarchies. They're just being, that hierarchy has vanished. Just the way Krishna's friends, who are always chanting Krishna's names, when they are playing, they don't speak to Krishna as if he's God. They slap his back and tell him, you're no good. We are better than you. So now that Hanuman also has said, Angada has given permission, they all praised Angada that, oh, we love your permission. Very good. You're very generous. And the way they rushed into the other part, the interior parts of Madhuvan was like a fast flowing river that rushes towards a tree to uproot it. And where is all this coming from? Drashtva Shrutva cha Maithilim. Because they have seen and heard about Sita. Only one has seen. Drashtva, only Hanumanji. However, Shrutva, they all have heard, and that is their joy. So together, they attacked Madhuvana. They drank honey from large containers. While they're drinking, they're pushing away all the guards. They don't care. The guards were trying to save all that honey and not the garden that has been kept very clean and nice and orderly. The monkeys were just drinking so much honey. They became completely intoxicated. They took the branches of trees and broke them. Some were just so, the word is languid, they're so intoxicated that they just fell on the ground. Some were just holding the leaves and eyes were closed and heads were dangling down. And in all of this, they were roaring. Some were drowsy. Some were already had fallen asleep on the ground. Some were making others laugh. They were tickling each other, provoking each other into making each other laugh. And all the guards who were there were so scared that they ran away in different directions. Some monkeys were so intoxicated that when Dadimukha came and told them to stop, some of them in their drunken state stood up and showed their private parts to Dadimukha as a way of teasing him to say, get out of here. So this was all complete mayhem. And Dadimukha, uh, tried to speak some soothing words because, Samadhana Danda Bheda, that none of it is going to work. So Sama is what he's going to try because Danda is impossible. Bheda, they're just too intoxicated and having fun. Sama, he's tried to pacify them that no, no, please don't do this. This is Madhuvana, this is the great garden of Sugriva. But who's going to stop them? Sugriva's garden means Angada is the prince. It is his garden. How can somebody tell someone else, don't enjoy your own property? So then Dadimukha had no chance. He got up and ran in a way to save his own life. And while he's going away, he's seeing that the monkeys were shaking up all the tala trees, the sala trees, which are very, very strong. And they were all fallen on the ground. When Dadibukha became very angry, Hanuman rushed at him. Uh, and Dadimukha was also rushing towards Hanuman because they're going to fight it. At that time, Angada very tightly held Dadimukha and pushed him to the floor and started punching his own grand uncle. And Dadimukha is not some weakling. He himself is, at least Valmiki says, he's like an elephant among the monkeys. But his shoulders were broken, he was drenched in blood and almost lost his consciousness. Then, when Dadimukha came back to consciousness, he picked up a stick and started chasing all the intoxicated monkeys. And then he called all of his soldiers, but none of it worked. So Dadimukha said, I don't care. What's the use of taking care of this garden? I don't give any care anymore. I'm going to go to Sugriva and complain to him. This Madhuvana has been coming down from our forefathers' time, and Sugriva had particularly asked me to protect it. Now, I'm not going to do it. Let Sugriva take care of it. Sugriva can punish them if he feels like this, whatever they've done. Let Sugriva, after all, he's the king. It is him who has to decide what is to be done. And very quickly from there, Dadimukha jumped and went to where Sugriva was. And Sugriva was seated there with Rama and Lakshmana. So Dadimukha came with a very sad looking face, body beaten up, and he was in complete pain. He offered obeisance to Sugriva with his head touching the ground at Sugriva's feet. Next time we meet, we will hear what Sugriva has to say. Now one may wonder, wow, these are all great, great Vanaras. So we heard why or what view we see this from in a devotional angle. Let's take a more dharmic angle, if you will, the philosophical level of things. Every living being, by their activities, being a human being, depending upon what we say is our karma. So there are two groups or two buckets of karma. And most of you are Bhakti Shastri students, and I've spoken this previously. So you know, one is called prarabdha, that karma which is manifest right now. And what is waiting to happen is aprarabdha, yet to happen. And prarabdha karma has two sections. Karma from previous papa or sinful behaviors, and karma from previous pious behaviors, punya. Punya and papa both manifest in one's life. By suffering in some way, physically or mentally, the papa is burnt. By enjoying and relishing the fruit of punya, punya also goes away. Kshine punye martyalokam vishanti, Krishna says. So out of punya, one may enjoy in higher grades, in higher realms. And by papa, one becomes bound to lower species of life. And in the lower species, one is only burning their papa. There is no punya there. Only in the human form of life, depending upon what kind of family, how much money, how much education, how much physical beauty, it's all a mix of punya and papa. For example, out of one's punya, one may have received a very good looking body, but out of one's papa, there may be some disease in that body, or the other way around. After one's papa, their body may not be good looking or you know handsome or beautiful, but out of their punya, they may have very good health. They may have very good teeth, very good eyes, intelligence. But out of one's papa, that intelligence may never see the full utilization of that intelligence. So it's all a complete mix. But papa is gone by the suffering, punya is gone or reduced or burnt away from the enjoyment. However, as a human being, without bhakti in the process, in the mix, just by living one's punya, one is accruing even more karma. And depending upon how they are enjoying their punya, they can begin to accumulate more papa. For example, a person who wants to celebrate may slaughter animals as part of that enjoyment, or get intoxicated by alcohol as part of that enjoyment. That creates more papa, for example. Now, there are two very, very massive, fantastic gardens that are like Nandana gardens that we have heard of recently. One is Ravana's garden, Ashokavana. The other is Madhuvana. Here is Sugriva's. And Hanuman, who has not eaten anything, he jumped across the ocean, searched for Sita Devi. If you notice, he searched through the entire garden, and there is so much there in Ravana's garden, but Hanuman never drank anything nor ate anything from Ravana's garden. However, when they came to Madhuvana, he is relishing and others are also relishing. Papa, because that garden of Ravana is Ravana's, everything, although looking beautiful, are all the fruits of Papa. And that is not meant to be shared with others. So Hanuman doesn't eat anything. He doesn't touch anything that is sin. The idea here is he doesn't engage in anything that is going to implicate him in something sinful. It's there. And he just lives that. So what does Lord Brahma say? Tattenukampam susamikshamana bhunjana eva atmakritam vipakam. Atmakritam, something that they have done or we have done, manifests as karma, and the only way is to just live it. Atma kritam vipakam. It starts becoming ripened. That karma is ripened, so it comes to us. And especially suffering is, Brahma says, jiveta, just live through it. And in one's body, mind, words and actions, tad vag, vachaha, in activity, one should glorify the Supreme Lord while one is going through that suffering. However, enjoyment or coming from punya is not meant to be enjoyed alone. It is meant to be shared with others. So out of punya, one may get wealth, one may get knowledge, one may have assets, facilities, resources that must be shared with others. And that is why all the monkeys enjoy together. Here, nothing is touched by Hanumanji. Although simple chapter, it is Vedic truth. Veda Vedye Pare Pumsi Jate Dasharathatmaje Veda Pracheta Sadasit Sakshat Ramayanatmanaha. So let's see if there are any questions, comments, or thoughts.
Hare
Sorry.
Krishna, Nityanand Pran Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Who is this?
Prabhu Ghanshyam.
Hare Krishna, Ganesham. Wow. What an
Thanks a lot
honor.
for Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for a wonderful class, Prabhu.
Do you have any reflection?
Yeah, Prabhu. I had a question. So, what I understood when you mentioned about karma and good karma, bad karma, and if it's a good karma, uh, I mean, still, if you're getting the fruits of that good karma, eventually it's going to deplete.
Yeah, of course.
So you mentioned then what I understood was you should associate bhakti. I mean, bhakti with good or bad karma. I mean, the point is you should associate bhakti. What I understood, but to associate bhakti, what more things one should do during good karma or bad karma? Could you please give few more examples so I can try to incorporate that in my life?
What one should do?
Yeah.
Well, let's start with what one should not do. In the Sthita Pragya section of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Dukheshu anudvigna mana, sukheshu vigata spriha. Okay. When there is dukkha, anudvigna goes to such a degree that there is nothing, they lose hope, they don't want to see anything, any bright side, even if it is there, they just don't want to see it, they don't want to consider it. Sukheshu vigata spruha. Spruha here means they're so unaware in their joy that they don't know what they're doing and talking. Like this example here, all the monkeys. They were so delighted that they had lost awareness of what is good, what they're scratching, biting, kicking Dadimukha. They had lost awareness. So Krishna says one should be careful on the side of joy and one should be careful on the side of shoka or dukkha. Regardless, one should know one is going to go away. What's there today will go away. And second, that the purpose of life is one's relationship with the Lord. While one is going, it doesn't mean you become so stoic that I have no feelings. Your dead body has no feelings. The point is, while one's going through, one has to find the association of devotees that will help hold on to the main purpose of life. That must be the general principle, Ganesham. Now, what one should do, I mean, your life is different, my life is different. So, what I might do might be different from yours. But Lord Brahma, the verse I quoted, Canto 10, chapter 14, verse number 8, where he says, Tad Vag, through one's speech, through one's mind, and through one's actions. Jiveta, one while one is living, one glorifies the Supreme Lord to whatever degree you can. Tat Vag Vapurbhir Vidadan Namaste. Te Namaha, one is offering obeisances to the Lord. I'm suffering. This is difficult for me. But I'm keep me at your lotus feet. That is easier than when one is joyful. One forgets. So they are not called Sthita Pragya, they are Asthita Pragya. Carried away by joy or carried away by distress. Okay, Gansham, just general principle.
So, Prabhu, quickly to summarize your point, association is important.
Always.
Then the second thing, what you mentioned was through thought process. through actions and
Speech.
speech. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
You're welcome. Okay, we have 2 more minutes if someone wants to reflect something or ask something.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Prabhuji, just one doubt. So Dadimukh also must have been listening something about visiting Sita and I mean experience of that from the monkeys. But why didn't it affect him?
Why
Or
it
he was not at all listening?
Valmiki doesn't say Dadimukha, Dadimukhi uh, necessarily had or heard that because he didn't go on that mission. He is just caught into I have to protect this garden. That's it. So there's no reference that he heard anything of this.
Okay.
The same answer can
Understood.
be so many people hear Ram Katha. Not everybody is dancing. Because in the middle of hearing his katha, he's thinking, oh, I have a job, my project has to finish. I don't have time for katha, I have to finish my project. So they're attached to what their work is. So they can't hear. If you want to extrapolate an answer, then his work is such that he can't hear. So maybe that's another way. But there's no reference that he was also sharing this joy.
Okay, Prabhuji, I understood. So both the
When I
ways
was
it's right.
when I was studying this, I was thinking the pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's with Chandkazi. All the devotees are chanting the Hare Krishna mantra through the streets. Anyone who's listening are also joining along and dancing. Only Chandkazi said, "No, you cannot do this," and he ordered for the mridanga to be broken. And so then entire Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's very sweet devotees became angry Bengalis and brought torches and they led a whole movement on the streets that the Qazi became scared because the joy of Kirtan was interrupted. He didn't dance until later. Okay, we're going to stop here. Thank you very much for your participation and eagerness to hear. May our hearts also be filled with the joy or the words of the great acharyas, the narration of Valmiki's wonderful Vachana Amrita, the nectar flowing from Valmiki. As we hear, and by hearing, may we also dance and taste the honey like narration of Valmiki Rishi, the wonderful works of the acharyas. Thanks to Sri Rupa Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that we even have some semblance of a key that opens up into this treasure house. Otherwise, what would we know of anything? And may that little drops of honey fall on us and we become purified, joyful, laughing, dancing, singing, rolling, and serving Sri Sita Rama Lakshmana, Hanumanji, their associates, and our wonderful gurus, Srila Prabhupada.